Hey guys, welcome back to another Snapshot video. Today I want to talk about what happened in experimental Snapshot number 7 that was released today. And at the end of the video I also briefly mentioned some of the small changes that were done in the 6th Snapshot that I didn't cover last week. The biggest talking point in today's Snapshot are definitely the changes that were done to the Elytra. And in my opinion, it wasn't a major buff or nerf. I think they're fairly balanced and kind of even themselves out. So let's go through it. So the first change is if you use the Elytra just for the glide mode, so if you jump down the side of a mountain and just glide down, or also up, so just cover some distance, the Elytra, it won't use up any durability anymore. So the only time a durability of your Elytra is used if you use it in combination with rockets. So if you use flight duration 1, 2, or 3 rocket, it would reduce your durability points by 3. So I was using the flight duration 1 rocket now. We got 429 out of 432. If I use flight duration 2, it's also minus 3 points, so 426. And flight duration 3, same, 423 points now. So it always reduces it by 3. Not taking into account which type of rocket you're actually using. I think this might also be something that could maybe be changed, because with the current system, I think there's really no reason anymore to use flight duration 1 or 2, unless you're maybe super short on materials. In case you have a good creeper farm and a sugarcane farm, it's definitely best now to use flight duration 3, because it uses the same amount of durability. Maybe it would be better if you would only use 2 points for flight duration 2 and 1 point for flight duration 1. Unbreaking also still has an effect on the Elytra, so I was trying around a little bit to see how it works. So if you have unbreaking 3 on Elytra, I got a little bit weird results that I can't really fully explain. So you either take no durability if you use a rocket. Sometimes it takes 1, 2, or 3 durability as well. So I just wanted to know how many rockets I could approximately use until you would run out of durability with unbreaking 3. And it was roughly 9.5 stacks. It will definitely depend how you're using your Elytra to answer the question if you have to repair it more or less often. So with the old system, you could fly for roughly 29 minutes with the unbreaking 3 Elytra, which given a travel speed of 33 blocks per second with rockets, equaled about 57,000 blocks. So since you can use roughly 9 stacks of rockets with the new system, you would need to travel 100 blocks per rocket in order to match the same usage time of the Elytra. But it's definitely possible to also stretch that and travel a lot more than 100 blocks per rocket. So for example, if you use a rocket just to gain height and then use it to glide down, can definitely get a lot more usage out of your Elytra. On the other hand, if you spam rockets a lot or are used to that, then you will definitely need to repair your Elytra a bit more often. Another change that was done was that the speed you accelerate to when using rockets was reduced by a small amount. So in the old version it was 33 blocks per second. Have you even noticed the change so far? It's definitely a tiny bit slower, but not by a significant amount. So process checked the code. While in the old version, the internal value was, or the internal multiplier was 1.5, now it's 1.25. So in case we assume that it's linear relation between those values, then instead of reaching around 33 blocks per second, it would be close to 28 blocks per second now. So still the best way to travel, or the fastest as before, was to gain a height with the Elytra and then glide down to reach even higher speeds than you could achieve by using the rocket. Doing something like this wasn't really affected, so the gliding speed is still the same. So if you use a rocket now, it would actually slow down. The best or the fastest way to travel is still using the gliding, and then you can reach the same speeds as before. Mojang also gave 3 reasons why the rocket speed of the Elytra was slightly reduced. The first one is that Elytra is just overpowered. It's definitely, most cases, the best way of traveling, because it's easily accessible, very versatile, and reaches very high speeds. So it's a lot faster than a horse, for example. It doesn't have the downsides of a horse. It's a lot faster than a minecart, doesn't require any infrastructure to be placed down. So when we were playing on a Blitz server, we actually didn't spend any time of placing down any infrastructure, like a piston bolt or a blue ice line, which couldn't even reach higher speeds because, yeah, you can get every of the Elytra pretty quick. I think that change wouldn't do any significant balancing to this, so you would still be able to reach very high speeds when gliding down, and yeah, the difference between the new rocket speed and the old one is also not too large. So I don't think much would change about that. The second reason was that the game definitely has issues keeping up with chunk loading right now. So by reducing the speed at which you can load chunks, this should be compensated for a little bit. But as you can see, even with the new rockets and some pretty good hardware on my side, this is still an issue. Also compared to older versions, the chunk loading is just a lot worse. So it would be way better to actually work on the chunk loading issues than trying to slow down the players again. Also, we still have to consider that it can reach even higher speeds when gliding down, which wasn't really affected by the change to rockets. So this would still be a bigger issue, as we can see here, especially when loading new terrain. Of course, if you already have existing infrastructure, then loading the chunks isn't as taxing on your hardware, but you can reach even higher speeds, for example, with boats and blue ice, so 70 blocks per second are possible there, or even higher speeds in case you're using dolphin scrays in combination, for example, soul speed. They can, I think, reach even speeds of up to 140 blocks per second. The third reason given in the patch notes, I think, was more meant as a joke. So since we have a lot of nice terrain to explore now, we wouldn't want to go too fast to miss it. But I think it's actually a pretty good point. If you're navigating some, for example, canyons here between the Badlands, I think it's actually a bit helpful that they're not going quite as fast. So sometimes it was actually a bit too challenging with the higher rocket speeds. It's definitely gotten a bit more manageable or achievable now to do this. Also, to navigate here between trees, definitely got a bit easier to do now. Let's also check out some of the changes to terrain generation in this snapshot. Noodle caves can now generate above 530. So noodle caves are those thin and narrow caves, and now it's possible to also have them really high up in the mountains. So it should be possible to find a very narrow cave entrance at the top of the mountain. I wasn't really able to find a good example. Here we got a really high one. So maybe, I think this is probably a noodle cave. Yeah, so there should be a narrow cave entrance here on the side. So it's possible to find locations like this one here. According to the patch notes, the terrain is also a bit smoother in this snapshot, and I think that's something I noticed today. So everything is just a little bit flatter, less hilly, less extreme, but it also felt a bit more boring today. So I'm not entirely sure if this is really caused by this, or if I'm already used to the new terrain and things don't catch my eye as often anymore, and not getting as excited anymore. But it's also going to be a challenge to find the right balance here between spectacular terrain, but on the other hand also have some flat areas where it's just easy to build or easy to travel through. There's also one more gameplay change from last week's snapshot I want to briefly mention. So last week I didn't make a video because I took a little bit of a break and the snapshot didn't have too much content. So sometimes you just had to cross a river with your horse and you run into the issue that you get dismounted. So what you would usually do in that situation is just use a lead to get your horse, donkey, or mule across the river. But in case you don't have a lead, you can now also alternatively use golden food items to lure your horse, donkey, or mule. So they would follow me in case I'm holding a golden apple, enchant a golden apple, or just a golden carrot. So this way we can also get the horse across the river. So I think it's actually better to just use the lead and drag it a bit faster this way. But it's just an alternative. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks guys for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.